I'm trying to think of a good name for this thing. So far the suggestion that stuck is park it. You know, which what does that
Okay.
mean? What does that mean? You know, like the idea is just like take the feelings, take all the shit, just park it, and we're just gonna talk. That's it. Like that's the plan. So
All right.
you know me, I'm like a politics guy, but I'm also
Yeah.
a comic, just like you, my friend. So I'll talk about anything.
All right.
So on
I
the
like it. I
inaugural
like it.
episode of the Park It podcast, YouTube channel, whatever this is going to be, we've got Gordon Baker Bone, the comedian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got like a cash app or something, man. Looks like it's a little rough right now.
I'm doing okay. My catch up is $sign at Gordon Baker Bone. I'm currently by the time this comes out, I'm in a hospital right now taking care of myself.
Yeah,
Just had elective surgery to get my gallbladder removed, and going from there with it, trying to
yeah.
fix that out. Had my gallbladder removed, and I fixed a hernia that I didn't know I had. So
So it's all
gotta
like
stay healthy, everybody.
you're holding up, is what you're saying. Like this
Yeah.
pandemic's not hurting you at all, dude. Like they needed you at the Super Bowl yesterday, bro. Like gallbladder be
Oh yeah.
damned.
I need to play for the Chiefs. I don't know what happened yesterday. You know what? I am happy. I'm not happy that the Gronk and Tom Brady won again. His seventh ring. Yes, he is great. No, I don't like him, and it's
Right.
all like what put it over the top is the whole MAGA hat year where he had it in his locker room, and it was a political flex, but not a flex at the same time. Like he put it in view so everyone could see it, but he never brought it up, which
Right.
is like kind of, to me, it's a dick move. That's like me
Yeah.
having a Tesla and leaning on it as I talk to you.
All right. I see what you're saying. From that perspective, it's like just for context, because this is kind of like the premise of the show. Like stuff like
Yeah,
that, I'm trying to remember, because I think like
yeah,
the news media has like the memory of a goldfish. So at that point, Trump
hmm
was really still kind of like a stunt candidate. You
yeah,
know, he wasn't really the front runner at the time, and you know Brady knows him, so he was just like, "Yeah, I'm
yeah.
gonna put my boy's hat up in the back." You know, it's like a
So
boxing
that's
match.
the
Like you got
thing.
your boys like local business when the shirt you throw on after you win the fight. But
Yeah,
like in that way, though, Tom Brady did help bring on the Trump era.
yes, he did.
He was
He
an early adopter.
championships. Yeah, like a lot of people during the administration weren't visiting Trump at the championships, which like was a big thing for a lot of people. Whatever side you were on, whether you like the guy or not, it was an honor.
Right.
And like it's one of the American honors of winning a championship to go to the White House, to be inside the White House, to have a meal in the White House.
Right.
That's big. That's a huge deal. Even Forrest Gump was honored.
That's true. That's true. Dude, that guy did a lot, that Forrest Gump.
President Kennedy met with the Collegiate All-American football team at the Oval Office today.
Now, the really good thing about meeting the President of the United States is the food.
But you know, like again, kind of like the premise of the show, that was one of those things where like it became a culture war kind of dividing issue. Because like if you look at the right, they're like, how dare you not go to the White House? Because it is an honor. But at the
Yeah,
same time, it's like if you don't fuck with the guy, you don't fuck with him. Right?
exactly.
Right? You know, like they can't really be mad you don't go if like those sons of bitches need to stop kneeling. It's like, well, why am I
Yeah.
gonna go? You know.
You're really ruining the salmon I'm eating.
Because like it all comes back down to like common sense, right? Like if
Yeah,
I'm outside of my house talking shit about a certain group of people, and then I'm like, yo, but come to Thanksgiving, it's like, nah, I'm good. Like
yeah,
I don't
man.
know that's one of those things because like I find the world just wants too many things at once. It's like I want the sports and I want the politics out of the sports, but I want the
Hmm
politics in the sports because the troops. It's like, well,
Yeah,
Pick one.
You gotta pick and choose, and I think a lot of people have a big issue with that, picking and choosing. I even find myself battling with that, picking and choosing, like what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. Like I'm slowly during this pandemic realizing I don't need ESPN as I once did.
Sure.
Like growing up, ESPN was my cornerstones where I got most of my information.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was all about sports, but now it's turned into, it stopped being about journalism and it stopped being about really getting to know the sports and the athletes and what's going on in the world to just look, he dunks. And I'm just like, I kind of want to know more.
Yeah. Go buy Doritos. Watch them jump.
Yeah.
Well, it's Disney owns them now. But funny enough, like I shifted because you know, I mean, I'm heavy into politics. So for the past year, basically, I was just like politics. And like after Biden, not when he won the election, but when they said he won the election, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go watch some sports again. Great. Like I've been watching Undisputed with Shannon Sharp. It's like the first time I watched that in years. And like this is fun. I could just think about nothing.
I'm the opposite way. Like you're hitting the off ramp. I'm getting on to the politics thing. I'm like, what?
You're like, how's this happening? I'm like, oh, that shit, that happened 3 months ago.
I'm taking off my throwback jersey, putting down my pennant. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And I think that's really what it comes down to, because that was the point. Like the whole point of sports for a lot of people was, I don't want to think about this shit. You know?
Yeah.
And for me, I stopped watching sports. And I'm like, this is frivolous. Like there's so much going on. And I'm like, whatever. So like I find that like you can't be mad about shit you understand, right? Like at a certain point, once you get it, what's there to get mad about? Like it's like the wrestling match. Like the guy that like pushed the kid. Like oh no, like he's a bad guy. Of course he's the bad guy. That's the product. You know, like when I look at sports, like you know the anthem argument that people made. First of all, let's be honest. Why are they playing the national anthem for a sports game? Like, seriously.
It's been said for years. It's been said for decades.
Why? And if you recognize why they're doing it, then you can't get mad about it. It's like, are you really the biggest patriots on the planet, or does it make you more money? Is it easier to recruit more people to join the military? That's all this is. I mean, you've been in this situation. You're just walking down the street, minding your business, and they're like, hey, young buck, you look like you could do some pull-ups for the Army.
Yeah. And like, I wish a lot of people would understand that it's an advertisement to recruit more people. Because guess who watches sports? Men from the ages of 12 to 25.
Yeah.
And guess what's the recruiting age? And it's prime. 12 to 25. So, well, not 12 to 25, but 18 to 25. Yeah. So you're fine-tuning and getting people on board.
But see, like when I think about that too, because that is part of it, like that recruiting element. But I was just thinking about like flyovers, right, in sports. Like here goes some jets and shit like that. And like if you're talking to like a more like right-wing conservative type person, flyovers is great, you know, celebrate the country and all that stuff. It's like, how many flyovers is student loan debt? Not like just a question. Not like I know there's not really an answer because there's not supposed to be, but like if I could do 5 less flyovers a year, can I pay like $100 less back to the government?
Yeah. A single flyover is quite expensive.
Yeah. I mean, again, like all this time taking benches out of the subway, making sure people can't sleep. It's like what is the threshold for like, hey, that kid's not gonna have a meal this week, or this F-15 is gonna do a fucking barrel roll.
Yo, that's the one thing that's like killing me, because like I love sports and I think we all should have some type of leisure activity that takes our mind off of things. I kind of find myself leaning towards more of the international play of sports. Like prime example, the Premier League with politics. Also, I think America could benefit from a relegation league that every city has a team. And look, every city has a business. Might as well have that business have a team. Yeah. And if that team's good and managed well, they are put on a pedestal, like the Lakers and things like that. There's no reason why the Lakers should have to play the Knicks. They're forced to.
Right. That's a great point. And I think like we could solve a lot of problems, right? Like all this, you know, the soft left or the tough right. Like once your city gets chipped up by Portland, it's like for as tough as Texas is, how many fucking chips do they got these days, bro?
Exactly, right? Like how would you feel like New York City losing to Tampa Bay, who's basically a vacation town,
right?
It's basically like it's like Title City right now. They went to the World Series.
Yep.
They won the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And now they won the Super Bowl. Like they're the number one sports. Imagine that, Tampa Bay.
Somehow, because you know that entire state has been sort of a question mark for me. Because when the pandemic went down, and just looking at Florida, I was like, "Oh, that's not going to end well," and they're doing okay. Like I can't.
They're literally. Florida has been the. It's been like the Chinese restaurant that stays open during the blizzard.
Right. It's like, why can't you be safe? It's like they know what they're doing, bro. They got experience.
They okay with getting the flu, apparently.
Yeah. But, you know, like solutions don't necessarily work everywhere, right? Like just because Florida figured out their little their pandemonium swag does not mean that shit works in Iowa.
Nope, not at all. And like I'm happy I'm learning more about politics, and this is why like I turn to you for like we're learning about stuff, because a lot of people don't think like voting affects them. A lot of people don't believe that where they can physically see where their taxes go to. It's a lot of laziness behind it too. Like knowing ever since I met you and saw how you and your significant other Pre got into local politics, it inspired me to like, damn, I could really find out who my town hires as cops. Damn, I could actually, I can go talk to my mayor. Oh, there's town hall meetings. I just have to go. And it's easier than just having to go. I can actually like watch online and find out what's going on. So I'm not just looking at a sheet of paper on election day going, what's all this about?
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you get down to the local level, it's actually like way more small time than you think. Like you could probably pretty easily get an elected position because most people don't care. But I find that my take on that is, and this is sort of the premise of this entire experiment I'm doing right now, is that most of the discourse I see online is bitching, right? It's just like, this sucks and that sucks. And it's like, I don't think people actually want solutions. Like, I don't think they want to actually solve their problems. I think they want to bitch about something. It's like, oh, fucking fraudulent elections. Like, well, you can stop that. like when the election went down, right? And I was talking to people leading up to it, and like 6 months, not like beyond that, before the election, because Trump had started ramping up, and he was saying it's going to be a crazy election. No one's going to know what's going on, and I'm just sitting there like, well, you know, your boys in Pennsylvania and Arizona, like you could just throw some legislation down right now and fix all of this. You're the president. Like it was very obvious that it was going to be a weird sort of contested election. And again, months out, I was like, that's weird. Arizona's going to let you count ballots for 14 days after the election. I bet some people are going to be pissed off. And they were, you know. But like all the people that are complaining, I'm like, all right, where are you complaining? You're complaining in Pennsylvania, which has a Republican state legislator. You're complaining in Georgia, which is Republicans running the show. So it's like, at the end of the day, I don't know what you're mad at me about. That means Republicans don't know how to run elections. And that shouldn't be a controversial statement. It's a fact. And let's say that the Democrats cheated, right? I'll give you that. They cheated.
Okay.
Y'all niggas suck. What? Like, wait a minute. There's just names on the piece of paper that are people that aren't alive. And you're the only, like, some guy in his mom's basement is the only person that knows, like, you can't walk that down to the, like you said, the town hall. Like, to your point about local politics, you can't give people this idea of, like, they or the other, they're doing it. It's like, who? Yeah. Brad? Brad? Down there? I mean, you go talk to him. Like, hey, Brad, what was that about? Just like
you can literally wait till 6 o'clock and know where Brad's going to sit in the bar.
Totally.
And talk with him.
Totally. Things are more under our own control than we're offering up. And that's basically my entire point, is that if you have a problem with something, in general, you can do something about it. And if you don't want to do something about it, then I guess feel free to complain, but like you're not offering any solutions, you're not offering any other alternatives. It's just like the left sucks or the right sucks. And it's like, well, yeah, but like you're part of it, right? Like, I don't know. I think you're right. I think that my take on politics has changed ever since people reach out to me to get more involved in my community. And it starts right there. It really does.
Ever since I met you and like learned about local government and learned how close local government is to me, and that I don't have to just yell into a void, or I can yell into a void or think it's a void and then realize it's not a void. He's just literally right there. Yeah. I've met and I literally bumped into Cory Booker at Whole Foods. Oh, cool. Like physically wasn't paying attention and back into Cory Booker. And now he follows me on Twitter to a point that's like, oh, this is not this weird machine that everyone makes it out to be, that someone's in their basement with a tinfoil hat. I just have to show up. I have to do my part. And as long as I do something or contribute or make an effort, I can get answers. I can find out where my money's going, why it's going there, and what can I do to improve my everyday life. And that's why I've always, like these past 8 years, I've been real hands-on with politics. Because I'll admit it, like I voted for Obama and I thought that I was going to be able to kick up my feet and just, that guy believes in what I believe in, just go at it. Yeah. Then I learned about, the House. Like I knew about the House and the Senate, but I didn't know how much it really affected a president and how much he can do and how much he can work for you on a national level.
Yeah, that's
now that I got all that, I feel like I got all that. But
no, that's a great point. I think Obama's a great example, right? Like, so full disclosure, I voted for him in 2008, and I was living in Maryland at the time. In 2012, I didn't vote for him. I voted independent. I believe libertarian that year. And part of that was like a protest vote because like drone strikes and stuff were getting a little out of control. And also like the way he ran his government through like executive order a lot, I thought was, because I'm kind of an originalist. I thought that was not the right way to do things because it opened the door for other people. Case in point, Trump.
Other people.
Yeah. Like the guy you like is doing it now, but like the guy you don't like is going to do it eventually. And that happened. But to your point, like Obama to me, and again, going back to the full premise of this, is the example of we have to be honest about what that was, right? You and I both know that if you put a brother in charge of something for the first time ever, there's a certain threshold of how you got to behave and act for things to work, right? Like Hope and Change was a great idea, but to a lot of ways, like Obama really tried to work within the framework of government without shaking it up too much. And that was actually his biggest weakness, because he was like, look, I could just do some shit, but you're gonna say that I'm doing this and that. So I'm gonna try to bring you into the discussion. And
Yeah.
What he should have learned, and I think the Democrats may have learned it this time, is that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you are coming to the table in good faith, because that's not the game that's being played.
No.
It's red versus blue. It's like, just because like a Chiefs player picks up a Buccaneer in one play doesn't mean that guy's not going to put him on his ass the next play. You know?
Oh, it's good. Yeah. Yeah, you might be playing one way, but the other side is totally not. Yeah, you might be playing a good, clean game, and someone's like, "No, I just really want to hurt you so I can buy my mom a new knitting cloth."
Yeah, and like the philosophy that I have right now is I call it be honest. Like, be honest. Is there anything that a Republican president can do in general, like again, depending on your politics, that's going to make you happy? And the answer is probably not. Or like not enough that you're going to go vote red. So like if you're not going to change your behavior based on the behavior of the person in charge, it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do about that?
All right. See, I like the fact that you said be honest, because it brings up like a topic that, because like I feel like I've learned more politics from like talking with you and like friends like you from the past like 8 years. Now I'm conveying it to a less savvy political crowd that are my peers and family. So the big thing right now that I'm going back and forth with, like, because like I know some about politics. I'm not fully versed. I know more about business and people than I know about politics, which I'm trying to make an effort of learning. So the big thing right now is, how come it's not a full $2,000 check?
Yeah. So that is the question, right? Like now me, I'm well, we in politics, I'm a bit of what's called a wonk. Like I like dive into the nitty gritty of it. So like for me, it was like 14 plus 6, right? Like it was a 2,000. I get it. Like it made sense.
The same thing with me.
It made sense. Yeah. But look, the more people talked about it, and again, being honest and taking emotion out of it, it was like, oh, I get that. You heard 2,000. You don't want to do math. You just want to see the 2. It's like, all right, I got that. I think that at first I was like, this is ridiculous. The guy just got in office. How are we like making a big deal about this? Like the previous number was 0. And now the number is higher than 0.
Exactly.
To me, it's like, hey, that sounds like a win. But look, at the end of the day, politics is messaging. So, if you can't control the message, that happens. I'm interested to see how this plays out. Because currently the Biden stimulus plan, the $1.9 trillion is what they're trying to do with it is through budget reconciliation. It's the same way Trump's tax plan got passed. Basically, you don't need the 60 senators, which you typically would need, to pass the bill. And the argument on the Republican side is that Democrats are just jamming this through. They're not consulting us. And the reality is, yes. Yeah, because the more negotiating that happens, the longer it's going to take. In the matter of people that are talking about 2,000, they're going to be. We can't have this conversation in April. If we're having this conversation in April, something is wrong, right? Like people are expecting their checks like kind of soon.
So my thing was, I was explaining this to my friends. They was like, how come it can't be 2? I was like, well, they already had a budget. If you have a budget for when you go to the supermarket, you're going to have to work within that budget. If you cap yourself at $30 spending on the supermarket, you're going to, no matter if you get $30 worth of chips, whether you get $30 worth of vegetables, it's always going to end up to 30. Right. So let's say our stimulus check was our chips. All right. People wanted $2,000. Well, they wanted $20 worth of chips. And Trump was like, I'll give you $6 worth of chips. And Biden was like, all right, I'll give you the $20 worth of chips. And everyone's like, well, I want it together. And I'm like, just take it. You can't just throw away the whole budget because you heard a certain thing. Yeah. So I do feel like they kind of did wordplay on a lot of people. Or did they do wordplay? Or were you just not being reasonable. That's my big thing. Are people not being reasonable?
Yeah, I agree. I think that because of the nature of this pandemic and like the amount of help that people need, I get the go big mentality. Yeah. But then there are, and again, this is why I like to talk about this stuff. There is like political gravity. Like the reality is that it's a tight majority. It's not even a majority. It's 50-50 in the Senate.
Yeah.
You got Joe Manchin, who's the West Virginia senator from, he's a Democrat, who's basically like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to spend as much because he's using the old kind of fiscally conservative playbook. All the Republicans are on that same page too, which is, it doesn't matter. Look, it could have been $1 trillion. It could be $500 billion. The answer on the right is no. And that's just good. Okay. That's just good old fashioned red versus blue. I don't like you. You don't like me. You want something and I'm being petty. Right?
Yeah.
So Biden is literally real time testing the waters, which is why we're having this conversation about 2000. He's like, let me throw the $15 minimum wage in, which I thought was kind of aggressive. And they're already backtracking on that. And for a lot of people, that's fucked up. But like for me, it's like, yeah, I don't think you're going to pass this check with the $15 minimum wage. You know, it's the reality of the current argument in the Senate. But one thing about Trump, though, is that for Republicans, this is a tough spot, given the fact that like Trump blew out the deficit. He spent $2 trillion a year. That has not come back into the coffers. Like that's another thing about politics that bothers me, right? Like I like point A to point B. You said this was going to happen, and it didn't, right? So like conservatives are like, we're spending too much money, we got to lower the deficit. If you look over time historically, they don't actually do that when they're in government. So we've had two major financial like disasters in our lifetime. This is one of them, this coronavirus thing. I'll make an argument that who could have seen this coming? This isn't really somebody's fault. The other one was Bush on the way out when Obama took over. And you know,
the cleanup.
Yeah, the cleanup. Which the argument against Obama is that the cleanup took too long. These motherfuckers knocked over everything on the shelf. And we're like, yo, bro, what's taking so long to fix it? It's an interesting argument. But I mean, let's be honest. I personally, because again, I've been an independent in the past. Like I'm a registered Democrat now because I ran for office. But if you look over time at budgets, spending, deficits, even like the economics in general, Democrats have had a better run over the past couple of decades. At a state level, you can make arguments for the right. I think at state level, I think, again, being fair and being honest, Republicans run really good at the state level. I just think in the national level, they're not very good at this, in my opinion.
All right.
It's controversial, but I just look at it, and you look at Trump, which it still confuses me, right? As a person that studies history, the last time someone lost Congress, Senate, and the White House in the same term was Herbert Hoover, and that was because of the Great Depression. A famous quote was, "You're going to get tired of winning." When are you going to start winning? Like when does the winning start? Because this is a bit of a losing streak, man. You know, at a certain point, it's like, do you keep putting your chips in with this guy? And look, that's the calculation that Republicans are currently making. Part of the reason we're recording today is because the impeachment kicks off tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it was very smart of whoever planned it to start the impeachment after the Super Bowl.
Smart.
I think that our country is very distracted by which way the ball bounces and who's bouncing the ball. This is a time where it's a bit of a downtime because yeah, it's gonna be people trying to search for a new thing to focus their minds on, and what happened on January 6th needs to be a focal point. You could say that, yeah, I had the kids' tuition money riding on football, so I had to focus on that or whatever. But now let's discuss the our nation's capital being ransacked by your neighbor.
Yeah. So my brother is a Capitol Police officer who was literally there at the time, and let me tell you something. He got wild, just like you saw on TV. What I find interesting about this impeachment, and I think you're right, like bringing the focus back on the events that happened. This is for the Democrats their chance to do that. They have again control of the Senate, so they have an unobstructed chance to make this a painful vote for Republicans. Now, Republicans are going to, you heard it here, this is not a spoiler, should not surprise anyone. Donald Trump is going to get acquitted on this impeachment. Full stop. This is February 8th. He will not be indicted in this impeachment because this is not a legal remedy. An impeachment is a political remedy, and the politics is the Republican Party is still firmly behind Donald Trump. For the Democrats, here's my take, right? They had to impeach him, right? Like people like you and their constituents would not accept seeing what they saw on January 6th. And the Democrats saying, well, I mean, what do you got to do? You know, we got the House, right? So this part's really tough, though, the Senate trial. But this is what I would do all day, right? Republicans are going to make the argument that this is unconstitutional. You're kicking a guy while he's down. What's the point? And the Democrats should take this time, unfiltered, to be like, hey, remember when that shit happened? Remember when that guy got bludgeoned? Hey, remember when it's weird that guy was tweeting about this? And use your time to make this embarrassing. Because you know what they're going to do, but make it like 60%, because you're not going to get more than that, but 60% of the country is like, Jesus Christ, you guys are nuts, right? And that should be the goal here.
Okay. So you're saying the goal should be to remind them of all the embarrassment and go full all out, no breaks, no stop, just put it all out there and go. The reason why we're doing this, because I feel like the reason why they're doing it is to make sure that he never tries to run again, to try to nip this in the bud right now, that in 4 years, we don't want 3 different parties running. We don't want Republicans that have some good ideas and aren't as extreme as Trump to be in a race with Trump, Republicans, and Democrats. We don't want 3 different parties, even though we have, but 3 different major parties because of Trump. And we don't want an election swayed because Trump shakes someone's hand or it goes, that guy's cool. So let's get rid of the rock star now.
That's interesting because to kind of my point earlier, I'm skeptical about the rock star thing. Now, again, it's an opinion. I could be wrong, but like, there's no real evidence. Like, yes, he did turn out the Republican vote. He is clearly a major, like the major part of that party. But like, where's that going? Like, what? QAnon, right?
I've been saying that for 4 years, so 5. Like, I always considered Trump, like when people ran, when people saw Trump running, and I saw like my white peers and friends laughing and going, why not? Sure. It was scary for me because, and I say this all the time, when Trump announced that he was running, it felt like I was at a circus and it's packed with, it's like in Madison Square Garden. We're all there. We're all having a good time. And one of the clowns pulled out a knife and pointed at me. And everyone laughed.
Right.
And I was like, no, dude, I think he's serious. And everyone was like, that's crazy. And then he started walking towards me, and everyone started laughing more. I was like, "Ah, look, yeah!" And they thought it was a joke, and I'm like, "No, this is terrifying. We need to stop this." So that's what it's like for me, and I feel like people think it's fun. They think it's cool. They think now they are supporting, in my opinion, the clown with the knife. And I don't want the clown to have a knife again. I don't want him to have that power that he can wield over me or anybody else. Because from my viewpoint of the past 4 years that we experienced with him was very traumatic for a lot of people. Not only myself, but like people that I know, friends and family. Like a lot of my friends and family are first generation Americans. And my dad he moved. He is an immigrant. He moved here, and he was scared about his status.
Right.
And he thought that he was okay. And then you get this guy in office that's saying like, "Oh, we send everybody back." Like it got to a point where he was scared to go out and go shop because what if somebody from ICE grabs him and he doesn't have everything that he needs to prove that he's been here for over 30 years?
Sure. Yeah.
So it was a real thing. So I just want to see something happen. Like, yeah, absolutely right. I want to see like somebody stand up there and go, "Yo, that can't ever happen again."
Right.
Whether he told them to do it or not, we can't have somebody sitting in the Capitol saying, "Get these guys."
Yeah.
Whether it's a threat, whether it was direct, but to rile a crowd up to that point, it's is it legal? Probably.
Yeah.
And they probably won't. Yeah. Did he say any of the magic words that can get him locked up? Luckily, his lawyers probably told him. I don't know if that's the funny thing. I don't think Trump said anything to incriminate himself, but his lawyer did.
It's an interesting legal strategy because, like I said, this is prediction. We'll see what happens. They're not arguing that you should do that or that like what went down was cool. The argument is that like, well, I mean, come on, like that's literally the legal argument right now, which is that like the process is flawed. You're not going to see a lot of people making arguments that like what Donald Trump did was okay on that day. It's kind of impossible to do that, really.
Okay.
I'll put it this way, to your point about this sort of like mass trauma. I think part of it is, and in some ways Trump did expose this, like the kind of ridiculousness of the media, which is that every day, to your point, for 5 years, you open the front page of the newspaper, it's the same guy. And it's just going, it was here, and then the next day it was here. It was like, what the fuck? And the next day was crazy. It was like, wait, that was crazy in the last thing. And then the other thing was like, what the fuck? You know, like that was this constant ramp up with also gaslighting. Because like it was like, I don't see what the problem is. You know? And it's like we're crazy. I'll put it this way. Like I'm not really like, again, my goal for this podcast isn't to do devil's advocate stuff. But Trump to me is a response, and again, right or wrong, is a response. Obama represented to a lot of people, like we mentioned, the hope and change. People expected like radical change from government, which, as you mentioned, because of the way government's structured, you're not going to get it. Right? Doesn't happen. I mean, case in point, $2,000 checks, right? Like, $600 is a big difference politically. It just is. So Trump was an outsider, right? He came in, he said, I can do this different. I'm a businessman. I can run government different. When it was all said and done, he really did just end up being mostly a pretty normal politician in terms of policy, right? Like he didn't do anything that was really that outside the realm of what any other Republican would have done. But he did it with a gusto that made a lot of people mad. Furious. Every day. And for the people that supported him, that was a good thing because they were furious at us because they felt like their way of life was changing. They also felt like the left disrespected them, that the left didn't take their problem seriously, that we dismissed them, that there was an entire class of people that were not getting the respect that they deserved as American citizens. I get that, and I get that in a lot of ways. Trump is almost like a caricature to represent that feeling. But the reality is that, like, what concerns me politically right now is that we're not offering solutions, right? We're saying they did this, he did that. And it's like, all right, but like, what is your plan? Like, because Trump's being bad or good has nothing to do with the fact that, like, we got to navigate a pandemic. You know,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter how I feel about Donald Trump when the reality is, like, schools are shut down right now. And you can point at Democrats or you can point at Republicans, but it's like, that doesn't matter. Schools are shut down right now. So, like, what is our plan to get them open again? And
Yeah.
and don't say Cuomo, because that's not an answer, you know?
It's wild to think that our education, like, we're doing a disservice to our next generation because, dude, they have been out of school. Like, you can consider the virtual school. Some people like saying some kids are thriving. Some people saying it's nonsense. Whether you stand on it, your kid probably hasn't been in school for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Going on 2 years. And that's, most people don't recover from that type of lapse in education.
Right. You're 100% right.
So you're seeing a lot of people risking getting their degrees during this panorama and going back to empty campuses or campuses that aren't safe because they feel like they're going to miss out on a job market. And I'm like, a job market that's not really hiring right now because you're going to be working at home, or no one's hiring you right now because people are losing their jobs. So you have these newly educated college graduates who are now have to pay their debt back, who can't find a job, who's only adding, to me, seems like it's adding more fuel to this fire of unemployment, joblessness, and homelessness at this point. So I'm like, anybody that's willing to jump on this fire of getting kids back in school and helping people get more jobs in any form, whether it's being a Zoom crossing guard, get them a job, get them busy, give them something to do.
Yeah, I look at it, the Trump strategy during the panorama, as you were saying, politically smart. Now, in terms of navigating this crisis, not so much, in my opinion. It's an opinion, but like, he took the responsibility and shifted it to individual states. So like, it was not a federal problem at that point. If your state failed, in the states that were more likely to fail because of just population, are of course going to be Democratic states. Democrats live in cities. Cities are highly populated. Highly populated places during a pandemic get hit harder than other places. So it's like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's incredible that politically he was able to pull that off, because I will say that was a politically savvy move. You got more people upset about places they don't even live. Oh,
hey, I got to take this real quick. I'll be right back.
I always take care of business. But let's see. I think I
tell people that all the time.
Yeah, I think I left off talking about something. Can't remember.
we were talking about, we were on the Capitol Hill, but
yeah,
I don't know. I like talking with you about politics and just about like social. Like, I don't know. I don't feel I'm a political person. I feel like I'm someone that just likes to understand society and the people that are around me. And just so happened the past 4 years, and well, I shouldn't say the past 4 years. This past year have been heavily interested in government, because it is the only thing that's been going on. Because with a nation locked down, the only thing that we can turn to is our government and finding out how we get back up and running.
Right.
It's like I never knew how like my car actually worked until it broke down, and now that it's starting back up, I'm like, oh, this does this. Oh, this makes the wheel work. Okay, all right. So yeah,
and that does remind me of what we were discussing before a small break. By making this a state's issue, which it always was going to be to an extent.
Yeah.
You had to rely on the people in your actual state and them being able to functionally run a government. The other problem with that, though, is that states in general, when there's disasters, for instance, I don't know, something like Hurricane Katrina, where like FEMA was a big part of that. If you don't have money coming into the state, how are you paying for these random like catastrophic events? So I think that there were, again, I like to be fair and I like to be honest. I think that there were some successes of Trump's plan in the sense of kind of turning towards the private industry and Operation Warp Speed. Again, there's a lot of elements to that because it's not like we were the only place trying to make vaccines. And it's not like many of them even came from here, but let's not even get into that. But no, it's a smart plan. But when it comes down to distribution, I think that's always been kind of my beef with Trump, which is, all right, you hit this first step perfect, right? Like you made a point. You pointed something out, and now you're saying we got to change it, and then you just kind of fuck off when it's time to like get down to like the actual reality of it. And government failed. They failed us to this extent. You can't tell people not to work and then not help them. That like Democrat, Republican, stop government. You can't make people stop earning a living and then not doing anything to supplement that, right? Like the restaurant industry is a great example. You've crippled and kneecapped that industry, and that's not anybody's fault. That like you can only do 25% of business, which like most restaurants aren't designed to succeed. Like look at the numbers. Like you can't actually pay your rent, pay your employees, get supplies at 25% capacity. So like you're just doing this zombie march into like going out of business. And government really failed those people. So that is something that the government is going to have to earn that respect back. And it's going to take time. It's going to take, real, actual nitty gritty getting shit done. But they're probably going to fail.
So you've been harping on a word that I've been trying to teach people. I am impressed, and I don't know whether I should be or not, with Joe Biden's electoral executive orders that he's been accomplishing. This is what, his third week of work?
Something like that, yeah. So he went in, the inauguration was January 20th. So that was a Wednesday, 1, 2. Yeah. This is we're coming up on week 3.
You don't think that he's getting a lot? Have I just been abused the past 4 years, or is he getting shit done at a rapid pace? Or are we just getting back to, has it fallen so far that getting back to normal, I'm impressed with?
Yeah, Biden has been slightly impressive in this sense to me. He's picking places to use political capital that I wasn't expecting. Like, and they're controversial things. Like, for instance, the transgender sort of sports bill. Now, I'm sure you've been on the internet, so there's all kinds of opinions about that. But like, that to me is an interesting signal point, because it's like, you didn't have to do that, and you chose to. So that's pretty impressive. There's other executive actions that he signed that have been pretty impressive as well. However, the caveat for me is that the reason that he was able to do all that is because Trump legislated so much by executive order. So if you just write some shit on a memo and say, we're going to do it without really having the laws behind it, it's very easy for the next guy to come in and say, nah, not doing it anymore. But no, the executive actions have been impressive by volume and the scope and like what it's involved in. But I'm skeptical, because executive actions often don't really do the thing that they say they're trying to. So we'll see. You got to back it up with legislation.
Do you think that he's going to get the laws and legislation behind some of these orders?
I think so. And part of it is because that they have rightfully chosen. I'm glad you said it's been like 3 weeks. As much as people are kind of complaining about the stimulus thing, like if you're being honest, the word I like to use a lot about the Senate, the fact that like he's got in the office in January and you're probably looking at the bill passing sometime around mid-March, which is a long time for the situation we're in, but like a short time for the situation we're in.
Yeah.
They're using tactics that I think they should. I mean, my current political strategy is fuck them, right? And I hate that I'm at that point, but like I was saying before, I think this is the same thing for Republicans. Republicans have a set of values and ideas that they want to happen, and they just do them. And they're not worried about what the left thinks about them. They're not worried. They don't care what we think about them. So pass the shit you want to pass. You're in charge, right? Like all I can do is kind of complain about it and vote next time around, right? Same thing here. The Democrats appear to finally just be like, fuck them. We're just going to pass the checks. Who cares? And if you do enough popular shit, you're the guys that pass checks. They're the guys that keep blocking them. That's a real easy political calculation, man.
And another thing about this bill that I found interesting, and I felt like Biden's doing something smart within the short period of time. He's making sure that if you're 17, you get a check.
That's smart. That's smart. You know what happens? Yeah. You know what happens 2 years from now to 17-year-olds? They're 19. They're 19. You know what I mean? You know what 19-year-olds like?
And the 19-year-old remembers who helped him get a PS5.
Correct. That is, to me, the situation that the Democrats have to their advantage right now. If they choose, and so far, and we'll see, so far it appears Joe Biden is willing to go down this pathway the way his predecessor, Barack, did not. Again, there were reasons why Barack didn't do it. And there's reasons Joe's doing it now is because of what happened to Barack Obama. It's like, you're not going to keep pulling the football while I'm trying to kick it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I'll just punt. I don't need you to hold it. You know? It's an interesting time, dude. Like, again, going back, I think the $15 minimum wage was testing the waters. They wanted to see how popular it was. Okay. They wanted to see if they could get it past their own caucus. It doesn't look like they'll be able to get all 50 Democrats. So it appears to me that they're going to shelf that. So that's something they're going to come back to. I think the student loans is another thing that they're going to be able to pass. So just off of what I think is possible, and I know for a lot of progressive people, it's not enough, but like what I think is possible is the stimulus checks. It's going to be $1,400. Sorry. He may even bring down who's can actually get them. I think that's a mistake, by the way. But there will be checks. I think they're actually going to do student loan forgiveness to a certain extent. I hope they're able to follow that up with something with the state schools, because the problem is you cannot forgive student loans and not do something on the back end, because then the cost of education is just going to go up, because college is going to be like, oh, blank checks. This is 30,000, it's 40 now, because the government's going to cover it. So, I mean, just think about that. Like you said, 17-year-olds. Checks, your student loans are forgiven, and the minimum wage. Those are three things I think they can pull off. Just that, you probably get reelected. I mean, if you pull it off, you probably get reelected, because at the end of the day, it's all about dollars and cents, bro. And like we were saying about this impeachment, the message needs to be, when Republicans are in charge, this happens. And you show a bunch of crazy footage of the Capitol. And when Democrats are in charge, this happens. And you show a picture of a check. That is the current political message, man.
Okay.
Yeah. And
checks win.
Checks win.
Especially right now.
Well, that's how they won Georgia. And that's why people are upset about the 2000. Because Trump, again, rightfully recognized, because his party would never do it, because they told people for decades they're fiscally conservative. They don't write checks. That's not what Republicans do, right? Because they
grab bootstraps.
Right. So Mitch McConnell, when Trump was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do 2000, because Trump was trying to get reelected.
Yeah.
And he recognized as a populist, again, I don't know how much of a populist he really was, that if I give people checks, they'll probably vote for me. He was right.
Yeah.
When they didn't get them checks, guess who got elected in Georgia? A Jewish guy and a black guy. That's kind of unusual.
Yep. Very unusual.
Doesn't
For
happen
Georgia
often.
standard.
You know, and there's
For
other
Georgia standard? Yeah.
there's other factors that, of course, help with that election. And if you're on the right, I guess they cheated. But I think that that's not what happened. Again, personally, you know, I would love to have someone come on and give me their arguments for why they think Democrats cheated. But I don't buy
They
it.
use that Wonder Woman, Stacey Abrams, that we made sure didn't get an office. She made sure everyone else got an office.
Yeah, yeah. Look, it's another example of and again, I say the advantage. Democrats have a chance here to convince people that they should vote for them. Black people,
Yeah.
not that much, but like because first of all, let's not blame 2016 on black people. That's not on black people at all. But there was
Yeah.
less turnout for Hillary Clinton across the
Yes, it
board, but
was.
we focused on African Americans.
Yeah.
But
But also, wasn't it like 46 or 47% of white women voted against Hillary?
yes, yes,
That's a large number.
well, what's interesting, actually, and no one's ever going to tell you this story. Yes, the black turnout was higher this time. Latino turnout was a little bit different. It broke a little bit more both ways. The story of this election, who happened to turn out better and get their numbers shifted towards Democrats, are white men. Now, there's no
Really?
narrative. Yeah. The amount of white men that voted for Democrats increase percentage wise, and basically across the every other category decrease. I don't know how you yes queen that. You know, like I don't know what the brunch narrative is for that, but like white guys, not by big numbers, but white guys shifted their votes enough that Biden came out on top. Now that I say that stat not to discredit all the other factors, like you mentioned Stacey Abrams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that is a political fact that no one will ever talk about.
Why do you think that is?
Because it doesn't fit what politics has
The narrative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Politics is a culture war now, right? It's
Okay.
It's either you kneeled or you didn't kneel. It's either all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, ACAB, the blue line, right? So
Okay.
part of the reason I'm doing this podcast, Gordon, is because that to me is obnoxious. It's a stupid, frivolous waste of time. Like, I shouldn't be mad at the guy that thinks police aren't getting a fair shake or something like that, right? Like, I should be mad at the policies that are in effect, right? Like, too often, I think we say people on the right are crazy, they're racist, they do this, that. And again, from the right, I think too often they say the radical left and liberals and it's unicorn piss and dreams. It's like, not just some guy, right? Like, how many people do we know working in comedy that like happen to be conservative? You know?
Yeah.
Like, we hang out with them, you grab a drink, you talk. There's some hot button issues that you know we'll never agree on, but like in general, it's like we get along.
Yeah.
Why does this have to be blood sport?
Because I think people find it easier. It's easy, and it helps you sleep at night knowing that everyone's on your side. You know?
Yeah.
Some people aren't comfortable with people having different thoughts or going against the grain that people are afraid of going against. Like some people are okay with letting their parents dictate what job or where they live and how they raise their kids. And some people aren't okay with someone being a free, I shouldn't say free, but a type of person that just can ride with the wind, that can adapt to new scenarios and accept change very quickly.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. It's just two different type of lifestyles that coexist, and it scares some folks.
Yeah, no, for sure. From like a social media perspective, like I've been kind of thinking about this a lot and like kind of monitoring my algorithm. There's like two or three people that like I consistently see their posts that I would say are on the different side of the political spectrum.
There's somebody here. Oh, I thought you worked in the bathroom.
Oh,
Sorry.
So,
Nurse.
no, absolutely.
You know,
But
like in hockey, line shifts.
yeah. But it's one of those things where like I've noticed that there's like two or three people that are on a different side of the political spectrum than me that I see. I know that that's kind of like intentional for me to like engage with or think about. But like the more I think about it, it's like, well, that's not realistic, right? Like it's not 97% of the world is people that agree with me and 3% don't. Like it's quite it's closer to a 50-50 split.
That's the cool thing about, like, the one thing I do love about comedy, and you brought it up, from traveling on the road, I've met and seen so many people that I disagree with.
Sure.
I've had some great conversations. I've had some bad conversations. I've got into situations where, like, we're having a drink. Someone bought me a drink and aggressively shook my hand, like, to a point where it was just like, oh, what are you doing here, bro? Like, he grabbed and like he wanted to, I guess, commandeer the handshake to show that he's the bigger alpha dog or whatever he had in his mind. And in the handshake. And like some people go, I don't know how you can deal with that. And I'm just like, this is what I got into it for. I got into it to educate myself and know that, yes, people aren't like me. And I kind of want to, it intrigues me. And I want to know why and try to see things from a different viewpoint. And that's why I appreciate like somebody like yourself. Like we are friends, we talk, and we do agree on a lot of things, but the things that we don't agree on is what I appreciate the most, is because it gives me a new insight on the world around me. And that's the point that I like.
I appreciate that you just kind of like let it all hang out there, right? Like if you have an opinion about something, you'll state it, and you just let things come as they do. And because of your travels and experiences, you get a lot of fucking people with a lot of different ideas about the world. I've just noticed that I work in a more conservative field because there's like finance involved and stuff like that. And I talk to a lot of Trump supporters and I hear a lot of what they are concerned about. And I think that it's like saying it's an education thing is not the right word, but it's a focus thing, right? Like for instance, over the summer, there was like this whole, the rioting and stuff like after George Floyd. Fox had basically a camera on a 3-block radius in Portland, and we're like, it's crazy out there. Like, I've got people that I know, like in-laws that live in Oregon, and there's like, they go about their life every day, and it's not like a problem. I'm like, that to me is the issue, right? That like we take these lenses and we look at these really specific things, and we're like, the whole world is fucked, and it's like, nah, it's just like that's easy to get people to focus on. I think that for me, and my goal with this podcast or whatever it is that I'm doing now is to just be like, this is information. Like I said, take what you want from it. Like I'll try to explain things as best I can. If someone asks me to explain something, and if they don't, I'll just hear out what they have to say. But like the goal is to just like not get so riled up every time something happens, dude.
Hey man, I hear you on that.
Judgment,
anger always clouds your judgment, and I hate to sound like a Jedi, but but yeah, like I like the fact that I know that if I speak at a tone like this, I'm able to convey my point better. And I wish I lived in a world where just yelling helped transfer information, but it doesn't. It scares, it startles, it confuses. When you speak like this, clear, level-headed, you're more likely to get someone to understand and have a conversation with you.
Yeah. And it's pretty obvious often, like let's say, I'm sure there's things that we've said that people don't agree with. The person yelling
Yeah.
into their computer screen,
Yeah.
figure that out. Figure it out. It's like likely you don't even really know who either of us are. And then if you did, it's just like, hey, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think? But honestly, like I said, working in the field that I'm in, the most recent story about like the Reddit stocks and stuff like that has been really interesting to me because it has outlined how little people know what the fuck they're talking about.
No one knows anything. And like I shouldn't say no one knows anything. Some very few people do.
Sure.
And I equate what happened in the stonk market with the same thing that happened on January 6th. It was a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, sick and tired of something that they didn't understand. And they went in there thinking they had an idea of what's going on, and they didn't. And they just made I don't want to say, did they make a mess? I guess.
Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a little overstated because, yes, it did shake things up. And trust me, Wall Street will be talking about that for years. But when you really break it down, it's small. Like,
it's a microcosm.
A little bit of the market. You took down
yeah,
kind of one hedge fund and all that stuff. Like, I think your comparison to January 6th is perfect because to me,
yeah,
this is memes becoming real life, right?
Okay.
Like, if you look at this whole like Patriot Party, QAnon, Proud Boys thing that happened on the 6th, to your point, you had a bunch of people that were just kind of there because they're mad about stuff and they wanted to make their voices known. You had a few people that kind of knew what they wanted to do and they're anti-government. So, sure, do they align with Trump more? Probably, but like at the end of the day, like anti-government means anti-government, which is why you're screaming, "Hey, Mike Pence." It doesn't matter who's wearing the tie in the building. It's like I want these guys out.
Yeah.
So, when you have a small organized group that knows what they're doing and a large other group that doesn't, it's really easy to kind of hide in that shadow and like move things around. And to me, Wall Street Bets is like that. There's like 10 guys in that platform. They're like, yo, take a look at these charts. I think if we do this, we can get this result. And it's amazing that they got that done. But what was interesting was that like after the fact, like people were still buying GameStop stock at like 200 a share. And I'm just sitting there as a person that kind of knows about this stuff. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. That's not a smart thing to do. And like right now, GameStop's trading around $60, which is like, which is still too much. It was like, that makes a little more sense. It's
oh my God.
That narrative to me got so out of control because the prevailing narrative was that the government stepped in and like stopped us from trading. And it's like, I don't think so. Again, these are my opinions. Don't sue me.
Yeah.
But I think what happened was that Robinhood didn't have the capital to cover the trades that people were putting in. They didn't have cash on hand. So they were like, sorry, you can't buy this stuff. Now they can't say that because then they just admitted that their business failed real time. So it's better for people to think that like they're in cahoots with corporations, which they are, but like it wasn't this as nefarious as I think the internet made it out to be. And this isn't like some good guy, bad guy fairy tale. This is people on the internet fucking around with other people that don't understand the internet. It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of fucking scary.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
That's the way the world's going. You gotta be computer illiterate. You gotta be internet illiterate. But being computer illiterate, you gotta know the internet now. You gotta know what's a meme, what's photoshopped, what's trolling you, what's everything. Because social media is one of these things. Social media is just like space. It is a new frontier that is unexplored, and some people feel like they have it, and they really don't.
Right. It's this wanting to understand, right? I think that is ultimately kind of like a nice way to sort of talk about what we've been discussing, which is that for someone that grew up in a certain way or had like a certain upbringing, like you mentioned, your understanding of the world is a specific way, and people that don't agree, you're like, well, how could you think like that? Well, they have different experience. I mean, that's it. In general, there are exceptions. There are a lot of exceptions, but in general, it's like, no, you're not like evil or a dummy or anything like that. It's just like we disagree. But to your point, being computer literate, I think is really important right now, because the way information is disseminated, it's very easy to like look at something and take it at face value without doing like the real research to determine if this is real. And I think that, to me, is the scariest part of the journey that we're in right now, which is I could make a meme right now, send it across the internet, and I could make people believe that it's real.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do with that society.
I feel like a part of that with I feel like it's how Trump got people to hop on his side, because the scary part to make a meme, sending it out there to the world and get people on your side. He gave a safety blanket to millions of people by saying fake news, because they don't know the internet the way we do. Sure. So him saying fake news is like, I guess, was a arm over the shoulder of people that don't get the internet either.
Right.
He just went, hey, listen, I know the internet. That's fake. And someone's like, oh, finally.
Yeah. And, you know,
I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And you
but like Trump, to that point, like, and I keep saying this, is like, you got the first step, right? Like, corporate media is a problem, right? Because they have a very narrow scope of what they want people to engage with. It's clickbait, right? Yeah. But the answer isn't that, like, just because corporate media needs reform or change doesn't mean I should be telling you the news, right? Like that's not, like, I have no journalistic, well, I've done journalism, so I do, but like, I don't necessarily have journalistic standards, right? Like, I can just say whatever the fuck I want. You hope that people are doing their research and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I think the GOP, the Republicans, have a problem right now, in the sense that, like, the people that they told that to, the people that they put the arm over the shoulder, kept going a direction they didn't intend. And the lid is off. Like, I don't know what to do about the fact that, like, most Republicans think that we had a fraudulent election, right?
That's so wild to me.
Yeah. And I've talked to people that are reasonable about that. There's a spectrum of that, which is like, you know, voting irregularities, you know, something funny happened, to people that are just full on, like, you know, Dominion voting machines. Again, for me, like, looking at the numbers and everything as they came in, it was very apparent to me kind of what to expect if we had a close election. So, like, I'm not surprised at any of this, and it was very predictable. But, you know, what do I do with that? Like, how do I help people, or am I helping people? Like, do people need to hear my opinion about an election? I don't know. Like, it would be a little patronizing for me to tell people that I think I know more about the world than they do. Now, I think that, but I'm gonna give them the space to try to, like, come to their own conclusion. But I think that it doesn't serve anyone really to sit in that feeling for too long, right? Because you're gonna stop believing in this. Like, we have to believe in this democratic experiment. This is the first time in history that we've done democracy like this for this long, and to take a place that was literally an economy that worked off of slavery, and then reconstruct and integrate people into a society and kind of foment this, like, two-party system. This is a really, really strange way to run a government. it's a really strange way to run a society.
Yeah.
But the alternative is very scary. Like voting in government is a proxy for violence, right? Because if you don't do it this way, you do it. How else do you have control or who's in charge? I think it is through sheer force. So
Yeah.
I hope that people will keep believing in government, and I hope that we can come to a point where we're somewhat unified. But I'm very skeptical.
It's very weird to see how many people don't believe in government. It's even more scary to see how many people don't believe in scientific process. How many people just, I don't know, maybe I just, again, maybe I just had this view of the world and I'm just not exposed to the people that I'm, by exposed, I mean, like, I'm not meeting the people of the world at a clip that I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like we all build our own bubbles, our own communities, our bubble. We live in a town that we feel comfortable in for the most part. We socialize with people that we feel comfortable with for the most part. We don't live in a society where, or most people don't live in a society or world or have interactions where on a daily basis they meet someone from a different town, a different state, a different cultural background on a daily basis. And that's what I really miss about my lifestyle, like, because doing comedy, I had that opportunity. I learned from that, and I grew from that, and I watched how other people feared that also, which also intrigued me. So yeah, man.
As a comic, you try to push those buttons too and see, like, what is the limit, what is the line of comfort. Like, a lot of joking comes from discomfort, sometimes from your own discomfort from growing up or something like that. I find that for myself, like I said, I identify more or less as liberal, right? But like, I don't fit neatly into that box. I mean, my father was, many members of my family were in the military. Many members of my family, direct family, are police officers. So like, I have a different take on the police situation than probably most people.
Okay.
Like, in the sense that, like, of course, like, Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. But like, I can't say all cops are bastards, right? For me, because it doesn't, like, how did my family make like a living and growing up and stuff like that? Like, and I've also had conversations with my father, who's worked in law enforcement, about police brutality, about police reform and stuff like that. And like, as a Black man living in this country, he has his own sort of balancing act that he has with that as well. But like, again, because of my experience, I don't fit neatly into a box. So like, I more or less reject the box. It's like, I refuse to be put in a situation where you're like someone asked me the other day, well, what about people burning down the Wendy's? It's like, yeah, don't do that, right? Like, you're not going to get me in a situation where it's like, well, they do this. It's like, yeah, they shouldn't. like, I don't have to be like, burn it all down. It's just like, I don't agree with that, right? So from a sense of like defunding the police, it's like, I think that there's merit to that, because you can't, if you are an entity that's being threatened by legislation and policy, don't pepper spray a 9-year-old. Don't do that, right? Like, I like my dad, I like my cop buddies, but it's like, hey man, like, if someone's like, comedians are the scourge of the earth, they keep like doing terrible shit, like, don't be Nazis, I guess, like don't kick a baby. Like, hey, you're fighting for your existence, not me.
Hey, stop flashing your dick in front of people, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we had to purge that. Like Louis C.K., you had to take a walk, take a lap, bro.
Get out of here. We don't need that right now.
But it's like, I don't know what to tell you, like, as a group. And if you constantly have these issues, and of course we can talk about media and how these things get hyped up, but it's like, I don't know, there's enough examples. Like, if you cuff a small child and then spray them with chemicals in the eyes, in my book, maybe in the Geneva Convention, that to me looks like torture.
Yes, that is definitely what that's the definition of torture. Like I'm learning so much about, like, I don't think people fully understand that the ideas that we have and the way that we live our life can be crazy altered and fixed and improved upon. Like I've been a huge advocate for home protection, not having a gun in your home, but I've been an advocate for everyone owning a paintball gun in their house.
Okay.
A lot of people laugh me off and they go, "That's the most ridiculous thing in the world." I don't want to kill anyone, but I do want you out of my home.
Sure.
And if I could safely get you out of my home or get you off my property without having to take your life, I feel like that's mission accomplished. And people think I'm crazy for saying that, but then I turn around and I go, look what happened on January 6th. A lot of them didn't have guns. They had paintball. They had paintball guns and walked in there and started hitting people with paintballs. And let me tell you something right now. A cold paintball, you might wish you were shot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm sure that you get a lot of pushback on that, because like even me hearing it, I'm like,
yes, I do.
Paintball gun. Okay. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I just think that when you look at something like that, right? Like I understand Second Amendment, right to bear arms and stuff like that. And sure, if you're in a situation where you want a gun, you definitely want a gun. Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, and I think we do this logically in a lot of arguments, we point to this sort of anecdotal, one-off, mythical scenario. What happens when they come to your house and they're trying to, like, it's like, how often does that happen? How often does that happen in your neighborhood? We can go through the newspapers for the last 50 years and you point, and you do the stories where you see how many people stopped home invaders, and I'll take the ones where people shot themselves with their own fucking gun in their house. And my stack's going to be this high, and yours is going to be that high.
Yeah.
And look, but at the same time,
wild how many people have that scenario in their head. I think a lot of humans have this this murder porn fantasy in their mind. This, I shouldn't say murder porn, but like gun porn fantasy in their mind, where they turn into the John Wicks and the Dirty Harrys and just their own protector. They've seen the fancy gun on the movies, and now they want their turn. They want to prove that they can do it too. You know how many people have never shot a gun before? It's not like movies take away from a lot of different things. Movies take away from how much a stack of 100,000 looks like.
Yep.
Let me tell you, $100,000 does not look like a briefcase full of money.
No,
unless it's once. It's shit like that.
It's like, well, that was underwhelming. Wasn't expecting that.
Shooting a gun also is another thing too. A lot of people don't let you know. Like shooting a gun, you're almost deaf if you don't have proper headgear. When you shoot a gun, you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
Your ears pop and it's silence and it smells eerily like firecrackers.
Right. That visceral moment, like that's lost on people. It's just like, when they show up, I'm gonna do this. As a guy myself that has engaged in like combat sports over my years and stuff like that, I've met like actual tough guys, engaging with them and stuff like that. And it's absurd that people think they can win fights. Like the average person that thinks that like they can win a fight is just wrong. Like you're wrong, bro. Like concussive damage to your head is not something you just like Jason Statham. Oh, whoa, that was weird. I'm gonna go fucking kick some ass. It's like, nah, you're gonna be sitting in your house with your dim lights for the next 6 months. You're gonna get your fucking jaw reattached. Yeah. And if you're lucky, you didn't fall wrong and die anyway because somebody punched you.
Yeah.
I've trained with people that are like phenoms, like, you know, like the next level of kids that are going to be like the next fucking like Brock Lesnar type kid, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot for people to bitch up, right? And I'm going somewhere with this rant. When a 15-year-old can choke you unconscious, even though you spent your entire life trying to make that not happen, it humbles you, right? when you go to the Capitol and you engage in your gun porn like you said, but
Yeah.
then the feds come knock on your door, it humbles you. You know, and it's just like at a certain point, man, when push comes to shove, and I think that's what all this stuff's about. When push comes to shove, like when you're in the shit, it's over, bro. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, if I stub my toe, I act like a bitch, personally. And I would say that most
Legos
people
get me
do.
every time. Yeah. Step on a Lego, bro. I turn into a different human being.
100%, man. 100%. But yeah, man. I mean,
See,
like,
this is the reason I like having this conversation, like with someone that's informed as you and has a world view. Because, like, I think when it comes down to politics, you need someone with a diverse background. Like, because I think a lot of people get lost with the imagery of what politics is. It looks like what people are bored by, and it's honestly not. It's someone like yourself, someone with a diverse background. Like, because I've honestly, if I tried to punch you into a category, Reggie, to describe who you are, and how you would vote and the lifestyle that you live and your, like, just you as a person, it would confuse someone on CNN. It would confuse someone
right.
on Fox News
It
about
would.
your political views.
It
But
would.
I think that's the fascinating part about talking with you about politics, is because how diverse you are, and also your views on, like, everyday life is fascinating and helps give people a better understanding of what politics should be.
Well, I think that it's hard to say what politics should be, right? Because like in our current
Yeah.
system, this is not what it should be, to be
No.
honest. Like this is not good. But given the fact that like I recognize that, and again, I'm not the only person that's done this, but like
Yeah.
I just break it down in the kind of like dollars and cents, right? Like what is the goal, right? Like we were talking about impeachment earlier. For Democrats,
Yeah.
what is the goal of this impeachment? For Republicans, what is the goal to counter this impeachment? And once you understand what everyone's motivation is, it's a lot easier to just accept why or how it's happening, right? Like the Republican Party cannot take this once in a generation character that came in, shook up the world, took down that Clinton,
Yeah.
and like did a lot of shit that they've been trying to do for a long time, right? They can't take that guy over 5 years and just be like, nah, he sucks now, right? Their constituents won't accept that. Same thing for the Democrats. Like, just because Biden won doesn't mean that they can just go now, like, we're not gonna worry about Trump anymore because we won. It's like, no. Their constituents do actually want revenge.
Yes.
I know for like the right, that's a scary sound, but like the reality is that like you can't put people through the ringer like that for 5 years and not expect them to come back.
Exactly. Trump did a lot of stuff to a lot of people. His administration really pissed a lot of people off and affected a lot of people. Then those people waited 5 years. They ate healthy. They ate their spinach. They woke up every day. They did their push-ups because now they want to fight.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And what's funny is like I had something there, but like no, I was just thinking about like the state of things. I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Well, it was funny that you had that little lapse, because apparently while we were talking, the Progressive Caucus officially secured the inclusion of a $15 minimum wage by the House in the House's pandemic package.
Nice.
So that's in the package for the House.
Officially. So that's a big deal. That puts a lot of pressure back on the Senate. So I will say this. I was skeptical about how far to the left Biden would go. Actually put him more into the moderate camp. Basically, effectively what Republicans would more or less resemble a few years ago, basically. It's not true. I mean, like, it's just not true. He has move towards the left, and someone like Bernie, someone like AOC, have actually more than I expected. And again, I like to call it like I see it, more than expected, have pushed him farther into this left category. But I think the reality is because this stuff is popular. Most people want the minimum wage to increase. And what I think is the problem for the Republicans right now is that, like, their counter argument is, but what about the budget? But most people don't give a fuck about the budget. Look at our credit scores.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this country is living paycheck to paycheck. They don't give a fuck about the future impact on me getting money today.
Yeah.
Go print some more of it, I guess. And like, but that's where most people are. So like, that's a really impressive step. Now, does it end up actually being $15 when it's all said and done? I don't know. But like, hey, it's closer to it than it was. That's really cool, man.
Man, it's cool, and I hope people are paying attention to it, because something like that going from the House to the Senate, like, I wish people would understand that things can change when it goes to the Senate. A bill can be altered.
Yes.
And it can be altered within its own party.
Absolutely. There is actual resistance to this. In fact, part of the reason the stock market is doing so well these days is because the market is factored in that like government gridlock is still going to be a thing. It's not like the Democrats have 52 seats. They got 50. One person says, I don't want to go, then it's not happening. Yeah. So I hope it stays at 15. And the other side of it, again, talking about being honest and being genuine, I guarantee if you look at that bill, that $15 doesn't go into effect until like 2025. Get at the earliest. So this idea that like we're going to increase the minimum wage and people are going to lose jobs, which again, I personally argue is not realistic, but it's an argument that's being made. What does moving the minimum wage from like $7 to $10 do in the short term, right? Because that's what we're really talking about. What does that do in the short term? And then next year, what is that going up to 11? Like this idea that, do you want going to Wendy's to be the same as a sit-down restaurant? It's like, that's not going to happen. Like, that's not how business works. It's a competition.
Nope.
Increasing the Happy Meal by $1 probably offsets that.
Yep.
You know, or, you know, there are some issues with the $15 minimum wage in terms of how corporations are going to respond. I think you're going to see more part-time workers, which is a problem. I think you're going to see a lot of.
Why do you say that?
Because corporations protect their bottom line. I think that you're going to see a lot of people gaming the system. Like if you look at the way rideshare companies like Uber and stuff operate, you're an independent contractor, right? Like you don't have benefits with the job. You don't have certain things. So like, I think there's going to be more of a push for companies to kind of get you to the point where they're not really spending much more money, but you're still getting paid $15 an hour. But I think that although that is a possible outcome, that we as a society need to put pressure on those people. So like when McDonald's or something like that starts cutting people's hours, people need to be like, hey, McDonald's is doing that shit. And trust me, they'll stop. If you put enough public pressure on them, they'll stop. So it's not, look, it's not a cut and dry argument. Like it's not just $15, yeah, we're going to fix everything. It's like $15 and how our corporation is going to respond, how our business is going to respond. But I also don't think it's like the end of the world that the right would say it is.
All right.
Yeah. It's all right. Shit's complicated, Gordon.
And that's the reason I like having these conversations with you, because I feel like a lot of people benefit from having these conversations with like you in general, because you're ideally the type of that you can sit and have this conversation with and get a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, there's like unintended consequences. Like there are scenarios that I could see where the $15 minimum wage in certain regions, in certain situations, can be a problem. But the other side of it is that like that's really not good enough, right? Like you haven't raised the minimum wage in however long. the problem already is happening, right? Like, so the idea that like there will be less jobs. Well, there are less jobs. You know, people are going to struggle. Well, people are struggling, right? Like making the minimum wage more livable, I think, again, I think it's a net positive. But there will certainly be examples where people don't end up on the right side of this equation. You know, for instance, we're talking a
Yeah,
lot about green energy these days. Sure, if you're in the oil game, yeah, probably pockets might be hurting for a little bit. That's
yeah.
but that's progress. That's the nature of the world. I mean, look at somewhere like Amazon. Like Amazon's doing great during the pandemic.
Yeah,
Your local mom and pop store, not so much. Like,
not at all.
you know,
Watching a lot of businesses go under this during this paragraph, and it's pretty sad. It's a lot of businesses that I thought had their shit together. I'm learning they don't. I'm learning a lot of people. A lot of places that I spend my money at are really mom and pop places.
Yeah,
because they're living check to check also.
it's scary. If you're asking me right now, this is a rough time because I think that we are seeing the biggest transfer of wealth in our lifetime. Like you mentioned, a lot of these businesses are going under. A lot of people are struggling right now, and big tech, certain corporations are doing really, really well during this paragraph. And your average person just is not. Like for me, it's been okay in some senses that I started investing a little bit more, and because of
Yeah,
the market going down at a certain point, I've been able to capitalize on that a bit. So like that's good for me, but like your average person didn't do that, right?
yeah.
It's just I am worried about in the grand scheme of things like social and economic equity. I think that we're sliding in the wrong direction. Yeah, full stop. There's no positive end to that.
Oh, I was waiting for like a positive, man. I'm just like, oh shit.
Nope.
Maybe like this is what needed to happen. No, we didn't. No, why am I saying that?
Yeah.
No, this did not need to happen. But like it's giving someone like me insight on one, how to take care of my business better. Two, not to diversify my money and know how to have multiple means of income, which is sad but also smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know how to produce money for myself and like keep myself afloat, but also I have to like start doing more for myself. Oh, okay. One sec.
Yeah, with JB, right?
Yeah.
I'm in 12 months.
Yeah. It's hospital life, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Gotta stay healthy, man.
Gotta stay healthy.
Keep yourself in, like, thanks, Mom, by the way.
So yeah, I think you're making a good point. I think that for me, what's happened during this sort of COVID thing is some of the stuff that I kind of looked at is like, these are my interests and like, what am I going to do without them? I've started to shift a little bit and realize, there's other things that I'm interested in, that there's other ways, like you said, to make a dollar and stuff like that. And it's been as rough as this period's been for a lot of people. It's also been a little revealing. I've enjoyed aspects of this.
Okay. What aspects would you say you've enjoyed? Because I'll go first. I'll tell you what I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed the fact that I learned a lot about myself. I learned how to become a better cook, but also I learned how to be. I feel like I learned how to be a better family member and friend to a lot of my peers, because this was a very trying time for a lot of people, and it showed me that I can be someone that people can rely on. And I also know how to make a good deal of money just from flying a drone too. So
nice. Pretty
impressive, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got better drone footage than my wedding photographer, so I mean, yeah, I'd say you're ahead of the game, man. No, I think like for me, and I like to reference history a lot in just like my dealings and personally to try to keep myself kind of level. I think we're going to go through our version of a renaissance.
Okay.
If you think about it, you know, a lot of people are kind of engaging in more sort of self-destructive behavior, but I think the creative types like ourselves are finding different outlets. Like I'm trying to teach myself how to play guitar. I out of nowhere, like I got a yoga certification. Like literally, I'm a yoga teacher now. I don't,
Congrats, man.
yeah, I don't know why. I did it, right? Once you took the commute out of the equation, I've been just using my time to try to inform myself and try to like, again, whenever I feel myself creeping into that mode of like, oh, this pisses me off, I'm just like, what? Do I need to be pissed off right now? Or could I like use my energy for something else? Like, can I like make myself a happier person? And so far, the answer has been yes. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I'm able to do that. I don't want to minimize anyone else's pain or problems. I mean, I'm literally talking to you from the hospital. So, like, in a lot of ways, look, things are going okay for me. And I think it's allowed me to thrive a little bit in this environment. But, I just think it's a different outlook, right? It's a different way of living. And I found some success with it. So it's good to hear you're doing well with it.
Hey, man. That's what I really wish a lot of people would just sit back and focus on, because this pandemic has been we've been trying to be cute about it. It's been rough for a lot of people. Having a psychology degree, I realized a lot of people don't go into psychology because they don't want to deal with themselves. A lot of people don't even take a course in psychology because it's terrifying, because they're scared that it'll reveal something about themselves. This whole lockdown where people had to be with their own decisions, their own lifestyle, and really taking a self-examination of who they are is hurting and helping people grow. I've seen more people do serious relationship commitments, and by either settling down with someone that they barely even know for safety and security, or going the opposite way to, after spending their life with somebody, realizing we really weren't a good couple until we really had to sit down and realize, like, oh, we're together. I've seen more couples break up in the past year than I'm comfortable admitting. I've seen couples just split from this, and I'm realized, like, I spoke with a lot of people about this. Do you know, like, one of the major things with FEMA and Katrina that caused a lot of depression wasn't even the storm. It was the fact that more couples broke up during that than anything else.
Wow.
When they got to their new cities, this was the first time they were out of the city or met someone new. So a lot of families split from Katrina, not because of the trauma, but because of options.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to place that, options. Yes, statistically, that makes sense. I mean, divorces are up significant amount during this pandemic. I think it really tests the limits of a relationship when you're just, that's it. It's you and them every day, and the day after that, and the day after that. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to survive that stress and strain on their relationship. But that's, I'm glad you talked about that, because that worries me. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast was I see people are depressed. I see that people are angry. And my hope is that, like, just by having conversations like this, that maybe we can put things into perspective for people, let people know that, we have some similar feelings about these things. And my goal is really just to bring the temperature down. Like, anyone that's like mad at me because of like my belief system, like, feel free, like, certainly don't like me, but like, I don't think that we need to like regress into this space where it's like everybody that's like you is the worst, or everybody that's like me is the worst. It's like, nah, there's a lot of that gray in there, and I'm trying to live in that.
Oh, my fault, man. I think I'm gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we can do that. Line change. So, hey, man, it was good having this conversation. I knew we thought we were going to dip into a little bit more current events, but I think this is the conversation that we needed to have today.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I would love to talk about how the girl, not even a girl, grown woman, she's 40, gorilla glued her scalp.
Yeah.
That was quite the day that young lady was having. She ran out of I guess, like, I don't know women's hair. You grew your hair out this panorama. I grew mine out. So I don't know everything, but I know there's like some gels that keep your edges in line. And she ran out of hers and decided to go the route of Gorilla Glue, simply because there's a product called Gorilla Snot.
Right.
That is a gel.
Which is good stuff. I've seen it.
You hear what I'm telling you? It don't move. I've washed my hair 15 times.
Yeah.
It's one of those things though, right? Like, yeah, I feel bad for you, but also, how'd this happen? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the dismissive or mean person about this, but I'm like, but you should have known. Sure. And I mean, she's really going through it. I've been following that saga like a lot of us have. That's a rough situation, man. But
that's beyond rough. But like, again, she washed her hair with Gorilla, like, and it's an adhesive that with water only gains more strength. So she washed her hair 5 times, making this Gorilla 5 times angrier and stronger.
Yeah. I mean, to have your hair permanently stuck, like, it still looks good for all things considered, but like, I mean, that's a rough.
It's going to kill her scalp, man. Your scalp
it is.
Breathe.
It is. Like, it's a problem actually. But you know, I think put into like that Capitol riots perspective, someone going through it might be a lesson for us all. Right?
That's a very valid point. Sometimes you gotta see somebody fuck up.
Yeah. Like we were laughing about that kid that got the black Capitol rioter, who the one girl is going on vacation in Mexico. His ass can't make bail for reasons that I think both of us know why. But it's like,
hey man, not all rioters will be treated equally.
No, man, no. Not everyone's gonna get their vegan organic food, bro. Some people are just gonna have to rough it.
It's amazing that some of the rioters took private jets.
I know.
To the nation's capital.
Yeah,
and they made bail, and this young man can't even get out. He can't even get a feasible amount to be dropped so he could be released.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, fucking peace and blessings, bro. Good luck, dude. Like,
that judge literally hit him with, "You know better."
Wow. Hey, man. That actually full circle that Gorilla Glue thing. That's how our people are, man. Your ass knew better. Like, I feel bad, but I don't, bro.
Yeah. That dude was
But,
like, "Oh man, you knew you ain't supposed to go into a federal building acting a fool."
Right.
And there you are.
Well, I'll put it this way. I think just to kind of wind things down, early predictions for me, we're going to learn a lot about this, what happened on the 6th through this impeachment trial. You're going to hear more details about this thing than you knew currently, and that includes me. I mean, a police officer was bludgeoned to death with a fire extinguisher, and we don't know who did it.
Which is wild.
Right. Like, you know who Kyle Rittenhouse is. You don't know who the guy is that bludgeoned a police officer. We're gonna find out. So,
yeah, that name's going to be everywhere.
Right. So my only point here is that I hope to kind of use like logical consistency here. Like, for instance, Trump said that like the stock market was gonna collapse under Joe Biden. It hit record highs today. Obviously, because rich people like money. It doesn't matter who's in charge. We're going to know more than we know now, because I guarantee a year from now, you're going to know at least one of the parties involved in the slaying of that officer. So tune in, find out what they know that we don't know. And I think that is going to be the story for the Democrats. If they're going to win the impeachment, they're not going to kick him out of government. But like, if they can take the messaging and run with it, that's how they win this.
Yeah.
This, but we'll see. You got any impeachment predictions?
I have my only prediction is that people are going to be shocked at America's legal system. I've always been someone that talks of, like, one of the main points that I do this segment on my Facebook page called Another One, and it's about inappropriate the proper newspaper media term is inappropriate student-teacher relationships. But right. For the layman, it's teachers having sex with students. And I focus mostly on the lady teachers, the female teachers having sex with male students and female students also, the students in general. Right. Because everyone knows what happens to men if they sleep with a student. Right. They know the time, they know what happens in jail to them, but no one seemingly knows what happens to women that go to jail for the same crime, and it is quite different. Right. A male teacher that does that crime usually ends up with 10 years and their license revoked. Women get a lesser sentencing. They most times get time served, barely even a suspension or their license taken away. It takes a lot, and it affects the community a great deal, because a lot of people they think it's funny. A lot of men say, "Oh man, where was the teacher when I was in school? Oh, lucky kid." But that same kid that you're saying is lucky just was raped, and now has grounds to sue your Board of Education, which comes out of your tax dollars. Right. I love that was the last statement you said. Your tax dollars. Because I love conversations about our tax dollars and what they're doing and like what they shouldn't be used for. And that is a great example of somebody else fucking up and you paying for it. Yeah, man. Like I always, like, whenever I see someone go lucky kid, I always go, you paid for that, right? Right. Right. That's a great point. And hopefully conversations like this continue to go on, because I think as a society we're shifting in terms of our feelings about that. It shouldn't matter who does it. It's a problem. Don't sleep with kids. Exactly. Like, like, I think that's a fair statement. But this idea that one's different than the other, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, it's literally not. Yeah. Like, so I brought that up to just basically say, when we come down to this, what happened on January 6th, a lot of people are going to be very surprised about the sentencing that happens in America. And they're going to see how the legal system may not be as fair as they believe it is. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you that there are going to be there's going to be sentences that people are not going to like. There's going to be sentences that people celebrate. Heads will roll to a certain extent, but you're right. For the majority of people, I don't think it's going to be that bad for them. Yeah, I think. Yeah, you're gonna find out how much taking a federal letter off a senator's desk get you. Yeah, we can quantify that now. But I think I get your point, because like if you jump the turnstile, you might do more time than someone that stormed the Capitol. Yeah, you might get lost in Rikers for a while. Yeah, I mean, just couldn't find them. 3 years later, backpacks. Yeah. Well, thanks for that again, man. I'm glad you're able to join me. Anytime you want to chop it up, we can do this. I'll do it. I'm thankful for even being on here, because like I need smart talk like this. Like, I get so bogged down with like comedy. Not even bogged down. I enjoy doing comedy, but it's just like, it's always funny, and hyperbole and all this like fun stuff, whatever. But it's just sometimes I like to talk some of I don't even like to say the cliche, but brass tacks about what's going on. And I think politics deserves a fun way of being talked about. And I feel like you do that.
Yeah. No, the goal is look, like you said, some people can find it boring, some people find it divisive. Politics is just like anything else, man. It's cyclical, keeps happening. Like you can point to different experiences, and like this is there's unpredictable aspects to it, like voting, but like it's kind of predictable. Like you can sort of tell the way people are going to react, and that's my goal, is to basically say, don't be all confused or surprised, because like we all saw this coming. But no, man, thanks for joining me. Plug that Cash App one more time, and I'll catch you next time, dude.
It's # Gordon Baker Bone. Hit me on Cash App. Baker Bone on Instagram, BAKER on Instagram and Twitter. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Oh yeah, I think you're gonna be a recurring character, my friend.
All right, man.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Rest up and get well soon, dude.
Thank you, man. Talk to you soon.